armor-piercing rounds really tearing through the armored car, and oh dear, not good. And we see a firestorm being called in, apparently very keen on absolutely sacrificing the Puma for very little gain, and the firestorm does not do much. Generally, you don't want to use a firestorm on a unit that can easily just get out of there. And some rather not so sportsmanly behavior, but let's not focus on that, although I do say that isn't really the best behavior, I'd say. There we go. What would you expect from a person who burgles cheese? Recon section or infantry section with rifle grenades off versus the Volksgrenadier team. Certainly not looking good for the Volksgrenadiers, and of course one should note that it wasn't exactly the British only who were using rifle grenades during the war. The Germans had them as well, and the Americans had them, and I'm pretty sure every side had them, but I suspect Reddick felt like the British might benefit from the most, and mortar rounds going in as well right here. Looks like this Volksgrenadier team might want to get out of there before it is knocked out, and we see a Stuart as well forcing away this. Oh no, what is he doing, Mr. F? Hauptmann F, no, get your Volksgrenadier out of there. And running straight into a Bren gun section, and lost, apparently got killed by some manner. And we see the bike is still not being used, something coming out of the Sturm Armory, while the Puma and Pioneers are pulling back, not really keen on facing this, leaving the central position in the hands of the British once more. Not really many attacks, not much infantry to carry out attacks or any support weapons to support these attacks. Not really looking good, and we see the Bren carrier continuing to follow in the wake of the Stuart light tank, providing nice fire support. A good combination, in particular against infantry and armored vehicles like the Puma. And we have the Cheezburgler out for the 21st Panzer Division, ready to open fire with its Pak 40. So very nice job. Well, not much of an assault gun, but currently having a machine gun, although with the next patch you will require veterancy 2 for it, and we can even see some small periscopes there. Always nice with such small details. And the Stuart moving in, the Cheezburgler slowly trying to turn, but the overloaded chassis is having a bit of a problem turning so fast. Not really meant to accommodate this much, I suspect. Puma firing away at this captain who's been caught out. And will he survive? Apparently not. And looks like this Cheezburgler without any support is getting outmaneuvered by this Stuart. Bren carrier running straight into a mine, but to no avail for the Cheezburgler crew. Blown apart, and the crew scattered to all winds. Or well, one wind it looks like. And the Puma managing to knock out the Bren carrier, but there is still the Stuart to contend with. And Mr. F will have to get out of there. And in fact, let's go have a look at him. Having gone terror and having inspired assault and the firestorm. Not sure what else he has. Perhaps might be going for the V1. We'll have to see. Going straight into enemy lines once more and getting buttoned. Oh dear, Hauptmann F. You really are wasting your troops. Although I suppose you'll really have to get a firestorm to really take it to the next level. And looks like this Puma is going to be wrecked in seconds. Engine damage, button, and a Stuart right behind it. Stuart managing another kill for King George. And now we see a Panzer command up, so not really getting much out of the Sturm Armory, and instead going straight for the Panzer command and a Ostwind. I can't really help but feel that this fellow's strategy seems to be ruling around these very supposedly high yield units, but of course they have some very great weaknesses, and of course if caught on those points they will get knocked out quite easily. It's sort of a more of a gimmick trick sort of situation rather than a sound strategy or tactic he's going towards. And again we'll see this with the Ostwind, which won't really be able to do that much against a Stuart light tank. Certainly will be great against the infantry, but if caught off guard, and What do we have here? An armored command track, and something is coming out, so this Ostwind will certainly come to short very quickly if this turns out to be a Cromwell. And we see the 17-pounder gun managing to snipe these pioneers, and sappers running around laying down mines, and apparently managing to get line of sight with that pioneer team and firing off a firestorm. But as you may notice, not really doing a lot, only damaging somewhat half through and leaving the 17-pounder still functional. Ostwind moving in towards the Stuart light tank. Shots not really doing much, but still something. It seems the Stuart getting away, trying to do a bit of damage, and in fact it does with its 37mm gun. In fact, it's the same gun, the only difference is the longer barrel and higher velocity of the Ostwind's shots, and it managed to knock out the Stuart, which crashes right next beside the Cheezburgler it just knocked out minutes earlier. And we see Volksgarden moving in to support. Looks like almost fresh, or at least not Volksgarden that managed to do a lot of combat. And we see the Cromwell for the 11th Armoured Division, and we see a officer out as well, increasing line of sight. Ostwind charging ahead, opening fire on this recon section, hoping to tear it apart with its 37mm anti-aircraft gun, and it forces it on the retreat. There we go, but it will certainly soon meet its end in the at the hands of the Cromwell tank. An evolution of the Crusader tank, the cruiser being the sort of designation the British use for tanks like these. And Ostwind trying to desperately fire away at the Cromwell, but its shells just bounce off, whereas the Cromwells do not. And the Ostwind's rear is now exposed, so that's certainly only going to leave it more imperiled. And while Veterans 1 will decrease the damage received, I do not believe it will be enough in the face of the Cromwell, which will just hunt it down and knock it out. And one more shot and the Ostwind will be a wreck. Destroyed engine, so one more shot I suspect. There we go. Ostwind blown up. Another wreckage to join the Cheezburgler and the Stuart light tank, and still no repairs for this motorcycle. Now we see a Nebelwerfer, albeit there's not a lot for it to actually support, some rather doubting the efficiency of this tactic. He's certainly able to keep yapping at Mr. Cheezburgler, but he's not really able to land any decisive blows, and for the most part they end up being watered down and then knocked out separately by whatever Cheezburgler has at hand. The captain once more in peril, and apparently getting away just in time. Cromwell intervening, blasting away at these Volksgrenadiers. And we see a Panzerfaust right to the rear of the Cromwell, doing a bit of damage, but forced to retreat in the face of all of these British troops of the 11th Armoured Division, ready to give Jerry a right thrashing and a good lesson. And we have the Nebelwerfer firing. I wonder where, perhaps here. Or will it be somewhere else? No, it is right there, suppressing some nearby sappers who have been upgraded to be really good at repairing, and more or less completely missing the 17-pounder gun. Let's have a return at Mr. Cheezburgler. Still no doctrine. In fact, still not much. In fact, looks like Mr. Cheezburgler has it very easy at the moment, since Mr. FMXchina or Hauptmann F has certainly managed to waste most of his opportunities and throw away men piecemeal without much support, apparently hoping that single-handedly they would be able to turn the tide. And we have a Panzer IV on the field, will certainly be able to present much more of a threat to the Cromwell and any British infantry, but will he actually support it, or will he just move it around and get it wrecked?
Location is secure. This should help our vehicles.
And we are seeing something else coming out of the Panzer Command, perhaps a Knight's Cross holder team. Perhaps another Panzer IV or perhaps an Ostwind, we'll have to see. And the 21st Panzer Division is losing the rest of its territory besides the very little at this small river crossing. Not a lot in fact, and we hear the Nebelwerfer howling again as its rocket payload is fired away. Apparently trying to hit this 17-pounder gun once more, and once more absolutely not hitting. Things are certainly getting desperate, and we have a Panzer IV and a Ostwind apparently making for some sort of small armored charge, but not much support, nothing to actually take terrain with, to actually seize the points. And certainly won't take much to stop this. Certainly might only require a Firefly, and then poof. So, small armored column making for a armored charge. Lieutenant on his own. Tanks blazing away but not hitting. And looks like the rest of the British forces might be forced into a full retreat. Yes, there we go. Not wanting to face what little the 21st Panzer Division could muster. Mind you, the 21st did not actually have access to the Ostwind. I do believe they used the Flak Panzer 38T, which was based on the Panzer 38T, the exact same tank, which was also used to convert a May, Marder Fries and the Hetzer. So there you go. But it did only have a 2cm flak cannon. So Nebelwerfer barrage once more going off, and again not really hitting anything. I'm surprised he keeps on firing there, when so far he's absolutely had no luck at all hitting anything. Now the armored column enters here, being faced off by the Cromwell, which has been given additional repairs, making it a bit sturdier. Panzer IV firing away, but the extra hit points of the Cromwell absorbing. And the Panzer IV actually retreating in the face of this, not entirely sure why. It certainly with its veterancy 1 could have withstood a bit of damage as well. Possibly knocked out the Cromwell, but apparently, and there we go, Cromwell now actually getting damaged, and we have a Churchill moving in, getting the mine plow, which will certainly allow it to just ignore mines, and of course create a line in any enemy minefields. Cromwell taking a lot of damage, and what is this? Another Ostwind? Oh dearie me. Another Panzer IV would certainly have been more advantageous, but there you go. And of course exposing its rear armor as well. Mr. F. Hauptmann F. really are not doing the 21st Panzer Division much credit there. Losing what Panzer force you actually have. Leaving only Ostwinds in your hands. And apparently now going to charge them right into the field of fire of the 17-pounder. Oh no. And now we have a Firefly as well, and we see the British armor charging right into the German base, and nothing at all going to be able to prevent